There we go. Hello, Todd.
How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Yourself?
Good, good. By the way, Green, I was born in Calgary. So,
Calgary, right on, right on.
so so who do
Hey,
we have?
Todd.
Who do we have up on stage here before we get going?
It's me. It's Lee Veal.
Okay.
And this is me.
We got some of our mods. Video Shane, Ryan.
Okay. Cool.
Hey, Todd, how you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for joining. If anybody has to go for whatever reason, because I know it's Saturday, then feel free. Don't feel obligated here. So,
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming
yeah,
on.
yeah, sure. Hopefully
Hey
we
Todd.
can.
Oh,
We can.
sorry.
Hey, Ryan, how you doing today, bud?
Oh, good. Thanks. Just wanted to say hey and thanks for coming and thanks for everybody out there too.
Yeah, yeah. Looks like we got a good crowd. I usually get a little long-winded with my answers, but maybe I'll try and be a little succinct with some of them, so that we can get as many people as possible. So, anyways, we should we should get going. We should get going here. Let me before we get going. I don't know how many new people. I've done this a few times on other Discord channels and stuff. So for some, it may be a bit of a repeat here, but I just want, as part of the conversation with people, let me say that if you look at any interviews I've ever done in the last 40 years, 97% of what I talk about is me. I rarely make observations about other people, right? I talk about businesses and trends and things like that. But I rarely try to guess what's going through another person's mind. Um, it, it it's not really valuable. It's speculation, and it doesn't really serve much of a purpose. Um, I've been in the eye of the public for nearly 4 decades, and over that course, my skin has gotten really, really, really thick. Um, and and just so that people sort of understand my mindset of what I do and what I say, although maybe it may be a little offensive to some people, if you sort of back up and then go, what has Todd done in his life? You go, well, of course he sort of has to have that attitude to basically go crashing through some of the walls he did. Um, and I'm not saying that crashing through walls is right or wrong, right? Here's the big piece of the puzzle. Nothing that I've done is any better or any worse than anybody else, period. Right? So I can just say this is what I do at given times in my life, and those choices change over time as you sort of your life changes and you get older and your priorities change, which is fine. We all go through those. Um, but I just sort of talk about how I do stuff and how for me, when you're at war, you have to be a little cavalier about war. Um, and so it becomes this weird mindset. My wife is like going, I don't understand why you think you're at war every day, Todd, right? Because she's a very kind, generous person. And it's not that I think I'm at war, it's that I need to be prepared for war at any given time. And the way to be prepared for war for me, and again, I'm just talking about me and I know my own head, I can't give away any undue energy prior to the battle. Prior to the battle. So I need to be as fit as I can, either physically and or mentally, for whatever basically comes in front of me, because I may have to slay the beast someday. So what does that mean? Let me just sort of paint the picture a little bit here. Here's a false assumption by a lot of people, for a lot of different people, but it's a false assumption for me. I don't put out my artwork out there because when I put it out, I'm looking for anybody's approval on it. That's not really the reason I'm doing it. Matter of fact, it's not the reason I'm doing it. I'm putting my artwork out there as a matter of fact. Period. There's so let's take an example. I put out the cover for, let's say I'm doing a cover for Spawn issue 320. There's my cover. Now, people make a lot of comments about it, right? I don't really read comments, just so you know, I don't read comments. And the reason is because the cover's done. The cover's done, ladies and gentlemen. So if all of you hate it, I'm not changing a single damn line on it. And if all of you love it, I'm not changing a single damn line on it. So whether you like it or you dislike it is of no consequence to me. What is that there's the cover, that's a fact, and now it's up to you. You can decide whether you think that's a cool cover and it's worth whatever price is on that book or whatever. And it's worth you going and spending your hard-earned money and taking it home and consuming it. And if you do, I'll be thankful for that. And I'm eternally grateful for anybody that's ever given me their hard-earned money. But I don't put the image out there. I don't put the toy out there to sort of change it. It's not there for change. So again, I understand everybody has an opinion. Everybody's welcome to their opinion. I'm just not obligated to have to do anything about any of those because for the most part, I've got my next deadline tomorrow. So no matter what happens, no matter what people's opinion are of me and my products today, I already know what I have to do tomorrow because I've already got my schedule all set. We know what we're doing. We've got our deadlines. We've got the people we got to phone. We got to move on and on and on and on. And so what that does for me, and I sort of did it, and I put a big sort of panel up when I was doing the San Diego Comic-Con. This is sort of my math that is liberating, at least for me, is that if I combine everybody on all my social medias and everybody that I sort of deal with globally, maybe I got 1 million, maybe 2 million fans, whatever, right? It's not insignificant, but okay, it's a decent amount. But here's where the math comes in. If I take 2 million people and I divide it by the population of this entire planet, and then I take that fraction and I round it to the nearest whole number, the number's 0, ladies and gentlemen. 0. So maybe LeBron James and Michael Jordan and other great people, their numbers were bigger than 0. Mine's 0. Mine's 0. And here's the thing about being a 0, is that if I put out some artwork and everybody hates it, and my 2 million people that follow me hate it, and I do the math, it still amounts to 0. And if everybody loves it, and I do the math, it's still 0, which basically means, and here's the piece for me, on my best day and on my worst day, I'm a 0. I'm a 0. And once I accepted that I don't really matter in the big scope of life, I don't really matter, it's liberating. It's the plus of that is it's liberating, at least for me. It's completely liberating, which basically means, so what you're saying to yourself, Todd, is it doesn't matter either way. You're a 0. That's exactly what I'm saying to myself. So why not then do what I enjoy and have fun and do it my way? Because no matter what happens, it's not really relevant in the big picture. So given that I only get to control one human being every day of my life, which is me and my own actions, nobody else's. I can't, not even my wife, and she loves me dearly. I just get up and I go, I'm gonna do what I enjoy today. And I hope that I can find enough people to enjoy that with me. I don't need the whole world. This is the piece. People like go, oh my God. I think there's a false assumption that people think when you put out any kind of product and or art that somehow you have to have the entire world like it. You don't. You need to have enough. Just enough. And enough means that you cover your expenses and your time and your effort, and it's worth your time. And even more importantly, that it gives you enough income that you can do it again tomorrow. And that business model that I've built for myself of finding just enough people has been working for 40 years. So, okay, I'm good. I don't need everybody on the planet to love it or consequently if they hate it, it's a big world. I'll go find somebody else, right? So I'm good. And so I say that again, not to be cynical, I'm just saying it's liberating. It's liberating. I see too many of my workers and my own kids at times and whatever else, and they get stressed out about stuff. And I'm just fearless in that I don't really care what people think about me. Because nobody else has to live with me other than me. So I like, that's it. And so I just have goals. I set goals for myself. And if I worry about what people think, good, bad, or indifferent, it can cause, at least for me, a bit of a paralysis, right? A bit of a paralysis. So I've often said that if you ever want to be an entrepreneur, then to some extent, I kind of have one simple question, which is, have you ever been the first one on the dance floor? And if the answer is no, then maybe you're not built to be an entrepreneur. And here's why I say that. Because to be the first one out on a dance floor at a bar means that you know that every set of eyes is going to be on you when you walk out there. And at some point, you have to not give a shit. So, how do you do that? You set goals for yourself. So here's my goal. I turn to my lovely wife and I say to her, hey, sweetie, you want to go out dancing tonight? She hasn't been dancing for a while. Of course she does. Of course she does. The ladies like to go out dancing. You guys should try it. Okay, so what's the goal? We're going to go out dancing. And then we get there, we get out to the bar, we have a nice dinner, we get to the bar, it's quiet, starts to fill up. And then the band finally comes. And then they start playing the music. And there's music and there's a dance floor. And so what do? I take my hand out and I take my wife's hand and I go, let's go out there dancing. And here's the other pieces that I don't factor into it. I don't give a fuck if anybody else in that room wants to dance that day. It is of no consequence to me, ladies and gentlemen. I don't give a shit. I don't know what their goals were that day. That's their life. I know what my goal was and I know what my wife's goal was. We're going out dancing tonight. There's a dance floor and there's the band. They're playing the music. We're going to dance. And if everybody doesn't want to dance, I could care less. If they think I'm a great dancer, I could care less. If they think I'm a weird dancer, I could care less, especially given that they're fucking strangers. Why would I give any power, any calories of my energy to strangers who I will never, ever meet in my lifetime because they think I'm doing something right or wrong? So I'm going to dance. and I'm going to enjoy the evening. And if you're one of the people that needs kind of a half full dance floor so that you can get in there so that you're not conspicuous, so that people aren't looking at you, you might not be built to be an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, you've got to do things that sometimes rattle people, and they're not going to like what you do. And they're going to say, no, you can't do that, or you're a troublemaker, or you shouldn't be doing it, or it's impossible. All the words. They're going to always put a wall in front of you. Anybody who's ever in the lead in any race will never slow down for you. They will always run as hard as they can, and then when you get close to them, they'll try and trip you. So that's just a given in all walks of life. If the leaders just don't go, gosh, you know what, Steve Jobs, you got a computer. That's a pretty good computer. You know what? We're IBM. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to slide to the side. We're going to let you and your Apple computer come and basically knock us out of first place. Of course they're not. Of course they're not. They're going to try and figure out every way to prevent that from happening and discourage the people along the way and try to steal their people that get there. That's just how life works. And here's what I know looking at history. There's nobody, and I'm not saying I'm doing anything historical, so put that to the side. Anybody who did anything historical that changed history wasn't liked by everybody. That's just a fact. You're going to change things. People who are adhering to whatever is this current status quo will then get protective of it and will basically not like what you're doing. And you have to just persevere and push through it. And if you give them power and care what they say, you're never going to make that change. You're never going to get to do what you have a passion for. You're never going to get to do what you know deep in your heart you're really good at, because you're giving power to another individual. I don't. So I'm Todd every day, good, bad, or indifferent, flaws and all. And I just assume that people around me will accept that, good, bad, or indifferent. Or if not, they can walk away. And when I meet people, I do the same thing. I go, here's a flawed human being in front of me, and I just decide whether I'm going to hang out with them or not. But I don't expect them to conform to me and my wants and my needs. I just go, this is who they are, and I decide whether that's good enough for me. Done. And I do the same with consuming products. Right? I've said before, I was just having a conversation with somebody earlier today. My ongoing I rarely engage with critics. I don't give critics oxygen, right? And then it goes from being a dialogue to a monologue, and most people don't like to talk to themselves. So I don't even engage. But the odd time, the answer is usually very succinct and short, and I've been saying the same thing for 40 years. When somebody says, hey, Todd, I don't like whatever it is, me, my products, my company, whatever, I don't care. My answer is always the same. I tap them gently on the shoulder. I give them a meaningful smile, and I say, you should spend your time and your money on things you enjoy. That's it. The problem solved. The problem solved. I can't do that for anybody else. I do it for myself. I spend my time and my efforts and my money on things I enjoy. I don't do it on things I don't. And I don't talk about things that I don't, and I don't go to websites and write dissertations about things that I don't like. I just do the things I like. Easy. Life can actually be fairly easy, at least for me, when I just sort of get down to the basics of all of it. So anyways, that's it. I don't mean to sort of do it, but I just do that so that maybe some of the answers I give, people will have that frame and then go, oh, okay, that either makes sense or hopefully more sense. given that we now know Todd's personality. So, anyways, and now let's go have some fun. So.
All right. Todd, you ready to bring some people up?
Let's do it.
All right, let's see. We have Clue Pilot from last time who didn't get to come up, so we'll get him up first. And then we got BK.
Okay. So let's see if we can have a couple people up on stage, because again, I know we've had some issues with the audio, so we can sort of not wait, given that we've got a lot of people here probably want to ask questions. So, all right, who do we have up?
Shiny Plastic People. You get to
Johnny
go first.
Plastic. Let's do it. You're the first one. Pressure's on.
All right, here we go. Todd,
Yes.
Batman always sells. You got to tie into the latest movie, but every once in a while we get something like the Titans Build-A-Figure wave. What goes into building a wave like that, and will we see something like that in the near future?
Yeah, look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Everybody listening right now, I am no smarter or dumber than all of you. The decisions I make are no different, and the way we get to them are really not much different than the way you would get to yours. If I handed you my company, any of you, you guys would do the exact same thing that I do, pretty much. You'd sit there and you'd think in your own head what you thought would be good characters. You'd then bring in some of your people that work for you and ask their opinion. Given that I don't own let's say the DC multiverse or DC multiverse for Warner Brothers does, I get input from them, and then you actually sort of keep your ears open and listen to. Are you starting to hear any trends from the consumers? Are they asking for a character, that is starting to become more frequent? And then you just make an educated guess, and you kind of put a line together, and then you cross your fingers and you hope that you get it right more times than you get it wrong. So I even when we were picking players for the sports picks that we used to do for years and years and years, people just go, "Oh, how do you do it?" And it's like, I don't know. It's like the people at sports bars arguing about who's the best, right-handed pitcher of all time. You just have these goofy conversations, and you make your list, and we put them together. So you can't do Batman all the time, right? Just like even if I was doing Spawn toys, I can't do Spawn all the time, and so you just try to mix it all up, right? I mean, I'm in the plastic buffet business and the printing and publishing buffet business. You just put out a lot of stuff, and you don't expect everybody to grab everything at the buffet. They just grab what they like. So. Like I said, hopefully you get more things that people want to consume than not, because otherwise you have to recalculate. We always get sales data. So once we get the sales data, it tells us whether we were more right or more wrong on our guesses. We're just making educated guesses. So. Thanks, Shawnee. Appreciate it.
All right. Sorry, no salad. Please go ahead. Thank you, Shiny Plastic People, for your question.
Hey, thanks for bringing me up. Hey, Todd, how's it going?
How are you doing? Sorry.
Yeah, no, so actually, I just wanted to ask you, about Web3, and, Oddkey has been around for over a year now, and now you have McFarlane Toys Digital, and I think, you have a very unique perspective, since you have your own IP, you're an artist, you make physical toys, you deal with licensors, and so I just wanted to know what you think about, the space so far. Where do you see it going? And maybe, how it affects different kind of businesses you run.
Yeah. So it's a thoughtful question, and I appreciate it. So let's just sort of get to the basics of it. At the core for me, it's just art, right? And it's always interesting, when people debate the medium of the art. Right? I mean, like you got TV, you got movies, you got music, you got video games, you've got paintings, you've got comics, you got toys, and you've got, NFT digital art. Like it's all art. I put it all under the big umbrella. Art is art. And now the question is, that some people consume art differently than others, or they enjoy seeing art differently than others. So some people play video games, some people don't get video games. They'd rather be going to a movie, and other people would rather be reading a novel. All right, it's all the same. It's all art. So I don't have a sort of a bias on any medium, in all honesty. If all of a sudden tomorrow everybody said that they wanted to read their comic books on the side of blimps flying through the air, I'd figure out how to get my art on the side of a blimp. You don't get married. You don't get married to the manufacturing, the process of it. You just go, where's there an audience? And obviously, which is sort of a newer step that we've taken, the digital space, crypto world, if you will, is fairly new. I you know, when I first got in, and I still think it was sort of like the Wild West. It's still like anybody who tells you they have the answers of what sort of the future of crypto and digital art and NFTs, where it's going, is lying to you, because nobody knows, because for the most part, every 4 months, things have shifted. So I'm just curious. At the end of the day, I'm just a curious artist that has some businessman in them. And I just like to dabble in different places and go, hey, what happens if we did this over there in that corner? Hey, what happens if we did this over here? And sometimes it surprises you, and other times it disappoints you. But it's just me experimenting and trying new venues to meet different people and to expose my art and to talk to other folks, right? I mean, we're doing something next week on Whatnot, this app called Whatnot. I've never done anything on Whatnot. I did a couple interviews and go, Todd, what's the big plan? What do you? There is no plan. I've never done anything on Whatnot. I understand there's a group of people who like the app, and so I'm going to go and experiment over there too. And I'll find out whether somebody. I keep telling all the people I did the interviews with, come back in 6 months. I'll tell you whether it was interesting or not to me. The other piece, though, sorry, that you did mention, which I think is actually astute, whether you know it or not, but is that I enter some of these realms with a different mindset. Big corporations enter because they need to make money. That's it. That's why they exist. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's why they exist. Their job is to, especially public companies, maximize shareholder value for the people who own their stocks. That's what their legal obligation is. So they come into this space, the Web3 space, with one sort of overarching agenda: cash. Got to make some cash. That's it. That's what they want to do. I don't like that to ever be the only reason for doing something. As a matter of fact, I never let that be the only reason, because it's too simple, and I think it's taking advantage of your consumer if you're just taking money for the sake of taking money. What I like to do is say, hey, given that I'm not a public company and that I don't have to maximize profits because, just myself and my partner, we're happy with what we do, or I've got other companies I own 100%. I'm okay. I'm okay with making, a fraction of money. That I just go, let's have some fun. Let's go and do stuff. Let's see if we can use that format and play a little bit differently. The first time somebody came up to me and said, Todd, do you want to do an NFT? My first response was, can I do one for $5? Now this is when all the headlines are so and so sells the NFT one of one and they make 500,000. Somebody sells one, they make $1 million. Whatever. You were reading those headlines. I wasn't concerned about those. I like, and maybe someday I'll do a one of a one and we'll try and see if we can auction it and max it out. Maybe someday, who knows? Again, another experiment. To me, that wasn't it. To me, it was like, well, if this is a way to get art, how do we get art to people at a cheap cost? And I got discouraged by a lot of people. Again, going back to my opening thing, where people will tell you, no, you can't do it, Todd. What are you, crazy? What are you doing? They're like, why? Everybody was like, why? Why would you want to do something for $5-10, Todd? And the answer is, which is sad, is that they forgot that they once were young and didn't have unlimited funds, right? Like there's never a day that I don't remember being 16 and barely having $5 in my pocket. I like that Todd, that young Todd is constantly at the forefront of all my thinking, which is why my comic books are $2.99. I'm the only one in the industry that charges $2.99 for their comic book. And I upgraded the covers and put a thick comic stock on it that cost me even more money. And why? Everybody else is $3.99, $4.99. I could go there tomorrow in a heartbeat, and probably none of you would begrudge me for it. But why? So that I can make a few extra dollars? I'm good, ladies and gentlemen. I'm good. I don't need to own private islands and jets and own, baseball. Well, it would be cool to own a baseball team. Could take batting practice every day. But like what do you? I don't need it. I don't need it. I have no want for it. I have no desire for it. The only reason I ever got in business for myself was to drive art, and if I could then make $1 off it, that was good. So I don't know, Sonny. It's a long way of saying I don't know really what the answers are and where we're headed and what's going on. I guarantee you that what we're doing a year from now will not be what we're doing today, because again, the space is just going to move, and I have to be malleable and flexible to move with it. Otherwise, I become a dinosaur, and if you become a dinosaur, that story has already been written. It's not very good for long-term survival. So I hope we can learn. I hope I can surround myself with smart people. I hope we get good constructive criticism from the people who are around, and we can just sort of upgrade ourselves on a constant basis. And what does that look like? I don't know. I don't know if it's got sound, music, static, if it's upside down, if it's 3D. I don't know. We're going to play it by ear, and essentially the consumers are going to ultimately tell us, right? They're going to literally vote with their dollars. And then we're going to have to respond to that one way or another.
Yeah, I think from a consumer side, being able to push a button on my couch and speak to Todd McFarlane, I think that's pretty cool in this space as well. It's great access.
Right.
Anyway, Green Ducks and team,
No,
thanks for having me on.
It's all cool. I try to explain to people who don't get NFTs. Let me just say, I try to explain to people. I try to call it digital art because they can understand that more than fungible tokens, right? So I just say it's just digital art. And when they don't get it, and I'm sure, I don't know. I wish we were in person, because I go, how many of you have heard this conversation? Like, NFTs, it's nothing. It's like you own nothing, right? How many times have you heard that conversation, right? So it's interesting. I'm going, what do you mean you don't own nothing? You have digital art, and it has a value intrinsically to at least the person who bought it. That's why they bought it, right? They whether they think they're going to flip it, forget that. It gives them enjoyment. And so they have it. And then, which is always weird to me, and here's the thing that people don't sort of broaden their horizons a little bit, that they go, I don't get it. Like, why would anybody want something digital? It's like it's nothing. And then I have to just state the obvious to every one of those people. Take out your fucking phone and go to your gallery. Why do you have any fucking photos? They're nothing. They're digital art. Why do you keep them? Why do you keep them? And whatever your answer is you're about to give me, I don't care what your answer is. Whatever you're giving me, why can't that be the answer for somebody else in the NFT space? Why can you have your digital images, but they can't have theirs? That somehow they're dumb, they're idiots, they're not up to your standards, but you are doing it every single day of your life. Stop it. Stop judging people on how they find joy in their life. We don't live in a penal colony. A penal colony means you've got a gun to your head. There's no penal colony. We put out products. People then have free choice to decide to consume them or not. And if they choose to consume them, then you have to assume they did it because they think there's a value to themselves for doing it. Give them that good grace. It's frustrating to me. It's frustrating to me. I have circular arguments with people all the time about a lot of different topics. So NFTs and old people is just one of them. So, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So, anyways, I appreciate it, Sonny. Sonny. Sorry, I'm showing my age. Sorry. Thanks for the questions. So,
Thanks for coming up. Sorry. All right, BK, we'll have you next. I'm going to bring a few more people up. And just a reminder, people, if you want to come up and ask Todd a question, just have to click the little hand emoji that you see at the bottom of your screen. That's going to raise your hand up, and then I'll be able to bring you guys up.
Or like on mine, the hand is up in my top right. So it might just look for that little hand emoji, but I don't know where it's at on everybody's screen. But anyways.
Absolutely, yeah. If it's in your top right, then your top right. But please do raise your hand so that we can bring you up. BK, please go ahead.
Awesome. Hey,
BK.
fellas, what's up, Todd? How's it going?
BK, you said you weren't going to make it up here, so you were trying to cut in line with the question earlier. Look at that, you got here. So fire away.
Woo! There we go. Here we are. All right, fellas. Well, Todd, I had a little bit of a collector question. You're one of the most iconic Spider-Man artists of all times. You invented one of the coolest characters to ever spawn. And we've seen some crossover events where we've seen Spawn and Batman. And I was just thinking how cool it would be to one day get a Spawn Spider-Man crossover one way or another.
Yep.
I was just wondering what problems maybe are there that would get in the way of that becoming a reality? Maybe have you came across in the past?
Right. So let's just get to your question, because the answer is there is no obstacle, right? There are no obstacles. If Marvel wants to do it and I want to do it, you do it. I mean, it's that simple.
Right.
So, you come to business terms and you figure it out or whatever else. So, when we were doing the Batman Spawn crossover last year, that was the number one selling book in all of comicdom
Right.
that year. When I was talking to Greg and we were trying to come up with some stuff that we sat there and we go, man, this should be a pretty good selling book. We should be doing pretty good. We go, man, if we're going to do another crossover, what would be a crossover that would be bigger than that? You just mentioned it, right? Even Greg sort of came up with the same one. It was like, oh,
where do you go from there?
You go. So, but here's, and we agree like how it would have to play out. It would be Spawn and Spidey, right? And I would have to draw it, because I don't think anybody's been waiting for, I left Marvel 30 years ago. Nobody's been waiting 3 decades to go, oh, let's get a Spidey back and Todd not draw it, right? So
yes,
like it would, and I know intellectually it would be a massive success, right? I'm not saying that egotistically because my artwork's any better than anybody else's. I just know that the anticipation, the event of that would be, oh my gosh, Todd's back and he's going to draw Spider-Man again. Oh my goodness. Oh, and by the way, the couple of the bad guys in there would have to be like the Clown and the Venom, and then you add another turbocharge to it where it's like, and Venom's in it. Todd created, visually Venom. Co-created the character with David McFarlane. Oh my gosh, Venom! Todd's back doing Venom and Spider. Like, what are we talking about? It'd be a home run. Matter of fact, better than a home run. It'd be a grand slam. So I've had those conversations. Just so everybody knows, I've had those conversations with Marvel in the past. Right? There's somebody high up there that constantly bugged me, and we used to have this ongoing thing, which was, hey, just phone me every 2 months. and I'll see whether I'm in the mood to do it, right? Because the biggest thing, the biggest obstacle at this point is just one easy answer: time. To write pencil and ink something of that magnitude would take a tremendous amount of time. And the way that my life is right now, I just can't find that proper time to do it in a respectful and proper way that I need to for the people who've been waiting, right? I don't want to rush it out.
Yeah.
So nobody would want it. But yeah, like if it ever happens, that's going to be the gig, right? It's going to be me doing it, and you're going to see some Venom in there, and we'll have a good time, right? So I mean, a couple
100%.
years back or whenever, a friend of mine that runs Diamond Distributors and also prints up the Overstreet price guide. Said, "Hey, can you do a cover?" And I put Spider-Man and Spawn on the cover. I didn't realize till after I was done with it that that was the first time I ever drew those two guys on one piece of paper, right? Because I hadn't drawn a lot of Spider-Man since I left Marvel. So, but it was the first time. I didn't even, sometimes you assume you've done stuff, right? But and he got this giant response to it. So I mean, I know. I mean, hopefully we can get to it before I drop dead, or all the fans who care drop dead. So it will actually be an event and not just me sort of doing some silly stuff. So
If you were to work with anybody on the project or that type of series, would you work with anybody? Maybe it was a long time happening before you could work with them again from Marvel, or would you maybe work with some people that are known to be image artists that are also co-licensed into
what
Marvel?
on that project or what?
Oh yeah, if you were gonna do a Spawn Spider-Man.
No, it'd be Todd writing, Todd penciling, Todd ink, and then I'd go find a colorist and a letterer. Boom, done.
All right.
Done.
Awesome.
That's it. Like this is easy, right? So that's what I'm saying. I'd have to do 3 of the 5 jobs. So, but that's it. Maybe again,
Cool.
at some point, I need to get that Spawn movie off the ground first, and then
Yeah.
and then maybe I can think about that. So, all right,
All
appreciate it. Appreciate it, BK.
All right, much appreciation, Todd. Thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you, BK. Doggos for life. Please go ahead.
Hey, what's up, guys? You hear me?
Yep.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to speak. First of all, I just want to say I'm a big fan of McFarlane Toys and McFarlane Toys Digital, and I participate in all that. I think the community is great. Every time I've had to interact with anybody on Discord, whether it be one of the moderators or any issue that I might have, it's always been smooth. They always been super cool. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate that. The other thing I wanted to say to you, Todd, was thank you because this year I was able to take my kid to San Diego Comic-Con, and being a part of the community, we were able to get in on the pre-party that you had the night before opening night, and I was able to bring my kid there, and I mean it was just a blast. All the games that you had, the food. Then the fact that he got some toys. I mean, he had just perma-grin on his face. And then you came and were signing autographs. And I mean, it was a really cool experience. You're just a really down-to-earth guy, very cool. And I just wanted to say thank you for that. It was an experience that I'll never forget, and my kid will never forget. And yeah, you definitely got my respect. I'm on board with whatever you got going on, and just good luck with everything, and can't wait to see what you come up with.
Well, I appreciate the kind words. I've got lots of good people that have helped me along the way over the decades. So I'm really sort of like anybody else. I'm only as good as the people that are around me. But from the fan point of view, you and your son, right? I owe courtesy and respect to the people that are in front of me, because anybody who's ever given me a dollar out of their pocket is deserving of my thanks. And some people have given me a lot more than a dollar. And so I don't know. I've been around other celebrities that have been offended by their fan base, and like there's none of us, and I have only a small dabbling compared to big celebrities. But we don't have a career without our fans. I mean, it's that simple. It's weird that somehow they lose track of that. That without the fans, we're just self-indulging. That's all we're doing. And so, yes, I when I'm around and I have that opportunity, I try to be as nice as I can. Here's the other thing that's weird too, if I can just sort of say, when you're nice, people give you more credit than you're due. Here's what I did that night with you and for you and your son. I acted as kind and as courteous a neighbor as I believe you would have if the positions were reversed, I hope. And or if you talk to your neighbor next door, there's just a decorum of civility, and sometimes you tell jokes and you have a good time. Like, I don't know why celebrities get extra credit for doing what everybody else, for the most part, does anyway. We're no different. I don't know why they go, man, Todd, you're so nice. Well, so are you. So are you. And so why is my nice any better than your nice? You were nice that evening. Your kid was charming. So I don't know. I was doing exactly what you were doing. So we were tied. And so although I appreciate the kind words, I did nothing unique. So, but if you want to give me extra brownie points, I'll take it. So.
Well, it's just the fact of somebody in your position having, first class humility and just being able to be on the level. That makes the whole experience worthwhile. And yeah, man, you definitely got fans for life, and me and my kids. So thanks again, dude. Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate the kind words.
Mbul, please go ahead. And guys, we have a little bit of a lineup here with the hands, so I'll be letting people up one by one. Tapine Woods, just a heads up, I wasn't able to bring you up, so I'm gonna cancel your hand and just you can request back up. Mbul, go ahead, please.
Hi, Todd. Super a pleasure to get a chance to talk to you. I'd heard a story recently about your CGC signing about not eating or drinking anything.
Nope.
And I just wanted to confirm or deny that story and maybe hear an abbreviated version of it.
Yeah, so I think we gave him a warning when we went there, and they said, hey, Todd, pretty ardent. He goes there. He doesn't really eat. He doesn't go to the bathroom. He doesn't move much, right? And so I got there, and like the first day, we got there about 7 in the morning. When I get a stack of books, so I'm there for like about a week, and last time was 2 weeks, but and I get there at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we go till midnight, right? I mean, we go 16-hour days, and I don't move. And so I don't know if they thought we were kidding, but I just sit there. I just sit there and sign. And so at some point they said, hey, we're going to take a break. And I'm going, what? And they're going, yeah, we're going to take a break. Like, why? And it was like lunch. And I go, I'm not eating lunch. And they're going, no, it's lunchtime. I go, yeah, but I'm not eating lunch. So you're going to have to find a couple people to shove books in front of me, right? Because an hour here and an hour there, that means I get done faster. I get to go home to my lovely wife and my family. So no, we're going. And so they ended up having to and again, people also go to the bathroom. So they have to, when somebody needed to go to the bathroom on the staff, then they had to basically sort of tag in almost like substitutes, like on a basketball court. And then somebody would come in, and then that person would go to the bathroom, and then they'd tag them back out. And then at a certain time during the day, they swapped out the entire team, and they brought in the night shift, if you will. So there was 2 teams there, and we got it done. Now, I know people go, Todd, it doesn't make any sense. How do you just sit there day after day and not do, it doesn't make any sense. First off, my wife will tell you, I've never been hungry a day in my life, right? So I eat because science tells me, the doctors tell me you have to put food in your body because it's good for the body. So I eat as a necessity, not because I'm hungry. I've never uttered the words, "Oh my God, I'm starving." Never uttered that word ever. So, and then the other one is like, well, how do you not go to the bathroom? This is also pretty much science that I've explained to people. If you don't put anything in the top hole, which is the pie hole, nothing comes out of any of the other bottom holes. So the reason people have to go to the bathroom because they had breakfast and they had coffee and they had tea and they ate some snacks in between. I get it. You put something in the top hole, so it's got to come out of the other holes eventually. But if you put nothing in the top hole, you don't have to worry about anything coming out. So I don't know. And so what? I go a day here, a day there, and I don't eat? But like, I'm not the only person on the planet that fasted for a day and didn't die, right? Like, it's okay. You can go. People have survived in catastrophic events and not been trapped in earthquakes and stuff and not eaten for days upon days, and they live to tell about it. So I don't know. I mean, it sounds extreme, but I'm just like, what's the fastest way to get done so I can get home? I'm a homebody at my core. I just want to get home. So how do we do that? Don't move and just keep shoving books in front of me. We get it done. So yes, indeed, that is actually all true. And they were shocked by it, but eventually they got used to it. So.
Thank you for telling that story, and you have incredible drive to do that.
Well, no, I just got a strong bladder. Look, I have won contract negotiations because of my bladder. I've had people come to my house. I live in Phoenix, where it's really hot. When they come to my house, especially the lawyers, I make sure, especially the guys dressed in the three-piece suits, and I turn the temperature down so my room is nice and stuffy, especially during the summer. And then I put them in my room and I tell them we're not moving until all the contracts are done and settled. They agree to it. I close the door. Room gets even more stuffier. I'm used to it. I'm like a cockroach. And then I can see they get hot. They get hot and they get hot. And so I keep pouring. I make sure there's a giant pitcher of water in front of them. And I just keep giving them water, or I watch them pour their own water. And this is the top hole, bottom hole syndrome. I just go, shit, they're 3-4 glasses of water into it. At some point, their bladder is going to be screaming at them. And I can tell by the way they're moving that they're like, hey, Todd. I'm like, no. And I look at them, I go, no, we said nobody's leaving this room till we're settled with this contract. And they're like, oh my God, he actually meant it literally. Yes, I did mean it literally. And they go and they go. And then finally, at some point, I've had it happen more than once where somebody would go, fine, Todd, point 10, you can have it. You can have it. Fine, it's yours. Fine. And you know what the very next word is out of their mouth when we finally get to the last point on the contract? Where's your bathroom? Fine, you can have it. Where's your bathroom? And then they sort of run to the bathroom. And it's like, oh my goodness, they gave me that point because they had to take a pee. If they didn't have to take a pee, they probably would have argued that point. But their bladder gave in, and so they had to give in on the point, and I didn't. So I don't know. I mean, they write those books, the books of war. I just have sort of my odd ways of fighting my wars. So, and it's worked for me. So having a strong bladder is done me good. Has done me good many times. It also does you good at a convention when everybody goes for a lunch break, and I'm the only one sitting there signing autographs. When I was younger, they'd all come and they're like, I guess Todd's the only one here signing autographs. I guess I'll get his autograph. And then if you're nice to them, they might like you. If they like you, they might buy your product, and you hope you can convert them into a true believer someday. I don't know. So everybody else is eating lunch and going to the bathroom. Not me. I'm going to be right here every second for the fans. Every second for the fans. So.
Thanks again. That's a great story.
All right, thanks, Mbul. Igor was off the stage for a second, and he's back now. So we'll have Igor go up, and then DCB.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, perfect. Just a big fan. Thank you so much. Like I say, for having me up on stage here. Been collecting since Movie Maniacs 1. Tortured Souls were one of my favorite lines. Any thoughts of doing something like that in McFarlane Digital, or you think that might be too extreme for like today's times?
No, nothing's no. Here's the thing about art. There's art, and then there's censorship, right? And so art means you should be able to do whatever you want, and then you just let people decide whether they like it or not. Censorship is it shouldn't exist, right? That's when the hair goes up on the back of my neck. So yeah, we'll try some crazy stuff, and if there's an audience for it, we'll find out, and then we'll try more. And if we try something crazy and people don't respond, then we go, maybe we missed that mark. We should go and do something else with a different topic. I don't know. Like you never know. You don't know until you try. This is the thing. This is part of the being sort of a little bit fearless. Is you just have to try, and you have to assume sometimes you're going to strike out, and it's okay. It's okay. If you can guess it right in 80% of the time, 85% of the time, then you can stay in business a long time. You don't have to guess it 100%. And then sometimes it's the opposite. You actually think something's going to do okay or maybe average, and it basically is lightning in a bottle, and you don't know why that worked either, which can be equally frustrating. But yeah, we're going to try a lot, right? The thing about digital is like there's no limitations to it, and that's the Wild West part of all this. So yeah, we're gonna just try, and I'm sure all of you will let us know one way or the other whether we succeeded or not. So
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Igor. DCB, please go ahead.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
Money. Okay, good stuff.
Money.
Todd, I feel like listening to you like in your monologue in the beginning, I was like, I feel like me and Todd could have been like best friends growing up in Brooklyn. You're like a no nonsense, no bullshit kind of guy. So I like it. And you'll be happy to know on the poll that I put up on Twitter of is Todd McFarlane a good dancer? The majority of people said they don't really give a shit. So you're good to go.
Yeah, that's the answer. That's the answer. Who cares how Todd dances? That's it. Who cares about Todd? I'm so over Todd. I am so over Todd. He bores me. So, anyways.
Good stuff. But I love the attitude. So then you're not going to mind these questions. Obviously, like it's stuff that the community's been talking about.
I take all comers, good, bad, or indifferent, guys. There is no question that is going to offend me one way or the other. I promise you. So
good man. So given everything that's happened over the last 24 hours, specifically in the McFarlane Toy Digital Discord, and obviously ultimately playing out on the blockchain with, someone or someone's admittedly stating that serious mistakes were made. You got a room full of collectors here, and like personally, I'd like to know, like one, if I have time for two things. One, other than like a general investigation, right? Like knowing just what we know now of collectibles being mishandled, maybe sent to influencers without being announced, or potentially, I guess for lack of a better term, right, the NFT version of maybe insider trading. What do you say to your collectors who kind of like spent their hard-earned money and, maybe they lost before they even played? Like, what's the message you got?
The message is that whenever I hear like a noise coming, then I try to investigate like why, right? Like why am I hearing noise? But what I try to do as I do that process is go in with and I'm not a religious guy, but I try to go in with as Christian a mind as possible, which is assume there's no malice, assume somebody's not trying to be devious or doing anything, and then just try and get to the bottom of it. Here's what happens sometimes, and I hate to say it, and I've been guilty of it plenty of times, that sometimes you do something, and either technology or yourself, you do something that is a bit of a misstep. And it wasn't the intent, but again, there's an optic on the other side, and you go, oops, and you try to clean it up and whatever else. And I get it, but we're flawed human beings, and I deal with it all day long. That like the people that work for me, the people who consume, the people I have to deal with my contracts, we all are just trying to do our best. And so what you try to do is when you find that there's been something done, you try to see if there was any malice. If there's no malice, then you say, well, why was the mistake done in the first place? And then you try not to repeat that in the future. What you don't get to do is unring a bell. You don't get to unring a bell. You get to go, oh, okay. Well, hey, moving forward, we should be doing this and this and this and this to make sure that never happens again. All right, cool, done. And you move on. And then you try to explain that a little bit to the audience, and either they're going to accept it or they're not. And that's it. That's all you can do. You do your level best and you move on. And this is all got a bunch of growing pains, like I said, the Wild West, and sometimes that can come and bite you, and sometimes technology in and of itself can come back and bite you, right? I mean, I've had it happen on the other side where they released one of my NFTs early, and I was like, what? Like, what? And it was sold out before it got to the time that people were supposed to get in. Like, what? That's not a good look either. But it was somebody, some human being on the other end typed in the wrong time and put it into the code, and something happened that shouldn't have happened. And it's frustrating for everybody. I get it. And so you go, lesson learned. Let's not have this happen again. Let's double, triple check the next time so this doesn't become repeatable. That's it. And that's what you get here. So I'll go through those exact same processes here, and make sure that whatever happened doesn't happen again. Period.
Do you go back and like for the collectors that maybe like if there was something, let's just say like it was, have you ever done kind of like a make good on, hey, this was our fault, it's on me, this is how I'm
Yeah,
gonna
sure. Yeah, sure.
got
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
So again, we evaluate all of it. We evaluate all of it. What went good? What went bad? What could we do better in the future? What can't we do? And then if we did something on our end that was our bad, is there something, this becomes customer service at that point? Then is there something that we could do that will satisfy some people? Not all people. Let me just tell you, dealing with customer service, you don't get to satisfy everybody. You take the majority and you call that a good day, and you move on from there. So
Good stuff. Appreciate it.
all right, yeah, and I appreciate your question.
Yeah, for sure. Take those dancing lessons.
Just so you know, to go back to that, my wife tells the story. The first time that she went dancing with me, we were young. My wife, I started dating her. She was 13. I was like 16 and a half. And she thought I was on drugs. Just so you know, I don't drink. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. Never have. I've always been almost a Boy Scout. And she thought I was on drugs because she saw the way I danced. So that's how bad I danced. She thought that a sober dude was high on something. So, anyways, it might be entertaining someday to tape myself for you guys. So,
I appreciate it, Todd. Thank you so much for the candor.
All right, thanks, DCB. Emoji, go ahead.
Todd, how are you doing today? Or Mr. McFarlane? What do you prefer, Todd or Mr.
McFarlane? I don't care. Whatever you're good with. I'm cool. I answer to both. As a matter of fact, I've had people call me Tom. I answer to Tom too. Whatever. So.
Well, actually, DCB kind of like covered what I was gonna ask, so I guess I can flip. But I just want to say, like, first off, your story about as far as being an artist and creating as an artist for yourself, and having it exist as a fact, that resonated with me, because like I feel that same way. I feel like as an artist, you shouldn't hinder yourself upon trying to meet the expectations of others. You should let what it is that you want to exist as it is. So I really appreciated the whole the intro and everything, and I really took that to heart as you being an artist that I look up to. But I guess touching on what DCB was saying too, one of the things that I find like about this space, especially like when it comes to the NFT space, the crypto space, reservations entering into it. For good reasons, because crypto is obviously volatile. NFTs that that projects that may look promising. You had Recur just close its doors. You had a hack that just happened with Element X and things like that. So as amazing as this space is, and the art that's being created through this space, through augmented reality and things like that, a lot of people have reservations stepping into projects, and one of the things that kind of like I guess scared me the most about what was mentioned by an employee last night was they had said that NFTs were taken and it was beyond their control, or it was beyond them, their exact words. So I just wanted to I guess with piggybacking on what DCB was saying, as far as on your end, what are things that we can keep at ease, that as far as like we're good, what we're holding on to is safe, and that the future of Todd McFarlane's is good, and we can continue collecting, and then everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. So here's the cold hard reality, right? I can't promise you perfection. I can't. I mean, it's the opposite of that is the only thing. So what we will do, which I try to do with all my companies I mentioned before, is you do your best, and when you have a pothole and or misstep, you figure out how again and why, and you try to learn from it. I mean, it's just life, right? I mean, you hope to get a little bit wiser as you get older. Businesses is the same way. And if you don't, and if you don't put out good product, forget what you're talking about. If you just don't put out good product and you don't treat your consumers properly, or you overprice, or you do a lot of things, then businesses can go out of business, because the consumer, as I said before, votes with their dollar, right? And so all of the inconsistencies, all of the things that people will be going through, good, bad, or indifferent, in the digital and NFT space, crypto space, is going to be the exact same things that anybody has gone through for the most part in any other industry and business, right? The basic tenets of running a company are going to be exactly the same. We're just talking about a different form of it. You still have customers, you still have commerce, you're still offering them something, and they have to believe that basically it's quality and is of value, and that basically there's you can create some kind of bond with them. And that's it. That's all you can do. Now the question is, what's the actual product? That can be different for every single person. So we're like I said, we're still infants in this ourselves, and we're going to just figure it out, right? Or we're not. In all honesty, we're either going to figure it out or we're not. And if we don't, then we're going to pay the price for it. If we don't figure it out, we're going to be the ones that are going to get shut down, because people are going to go, no, I don't want to support that any longer, Todd. Thank you very much. And that would be my bad at that point. So it's incumbent,
because I love your art.
Yeah, it's incumbent upon us to figure as much out as we can and try to do the best that we can every level day, and move from there. That's it. So we'll see. I'm sure, again, those that don't think we're doing it will leave, and those that think we're making an honest effort will stay. That's it, right? They're going back to the simple one. Then everybody gets to choose what makes sense for them. I name's Todd, only rhymes with God. I don't get to control all this, right? I do my human best, and I've got a crew of people, and again, it can be frustrating for me as a boss that sometimes somebody does something that was like, what? Like, even if I'm making a toy and it's like, what? The cape's supposed to be red. Why did somebody make it purple? Oh yeah, I forgot. Like, again, and I got to deal with the consequences of it, because I got my name on every single item that I do. Todd McFarlane Productions is my publishing, and McFarlane Toys. Like, I take that very seriously. So I'll pay attention to it. So.
shoot, Todd. Thank you.
Thanks, emoji. Aries, Captain Smack, please go ahead.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Good.
Oh, wait,
Thanks
I
for
already
coming
asked you
today.
that, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I'm a big Spawn guy, big fan, and I was hoping to hear a little bit more at San Diego Comic-Con about the new line of figures you're making. I'm really excited about that Kickstarter, but I was just wondering if there's any updates you can give or a timeline for the next Spawn wave.
Yeah, we just had a meeting on that, and we're just trying to make sure that we've got all of our sculptors scheduled to do it. But one of the things we're going to do is circle back a little bit more instead of worrying about doing like all the characters that are in the comic book per se, is just having fun with the brand of Spawn, right? Going back to what we had done at the beginning of my company. I mean, when Spawn Toys came out, we did 35 series over the course of I don't know how many years. And if you remember, or you could go Google some of it, it was just us doing like Dark Ages Spawn, Viking Spawn, Roman Spawn, futuristic Spawn, cyber Spawns. It was just us coming up with crazy ideas and then putting the Spawn paint job on it, right? And I think there's still a play to be had there, right? Some super cool cybernetic fucking robots, and they happen to have like the paint job of it. I go, shoot, I don't know what Spawn is, but I'll take that robot. And if I like Spawn, that's a badass robot that's got a Spawn paint job on it. So I don't know. I got lots of ideas we've been talking about, and we're gonna get them out there and not worry about the 25th best character in the comic book.
I had another question too, if you'll have it.
Quickly, yeah.
I was wondering if there's any market for Spawn like clothing and hats and stuff. If you're interested in that, I know there's been Spawn shirts before, but
yeah. So the answer is yes. I'm interested. I've said before that because I'm not a public company, I don't have to maximize making money at all times. And although I know that people have asked over the year, at times I think there's a value in waiting, and maybe I overweight because it took me 30 years to do more than one ongoing comic book, right? So that we just came out with in 2021. And if I don't want to be reaching into you guys' pockets all the time, right? This is like, so could I do hats? Of course. Could I do shirts? Of course. Could I do this? Of course. Posters? What? Of course. The answer is yes, I could do all of it, right? I have the capabilities, or I have people knocking on my door all the time. But I just to have it exist because it can exist, there has to be a little bit of a reason. So I've been holding off in any meaningful way for some stuff like video games and apparel being one of them you just touched upon. I think that I'm waiting for the movie, and because and the reason I say that is because once there's a movie, and fingers crossed that it actually is good, that then the word Spawn will travel further, right? A lot further. And so the easy example of that, but that we know to be true, is that if I say to people, if I go to my next door neighbor, somebody walking the street or whatever, and I say, "Hey, my name's Todd McFarlane," they'll go, "Yeah, whatever." And I say, "Yeah, I created Spawn." "Yeah, whatever." Right? But if I say, "Hey, I designed the look of Venom," like 90% of the time you'll get a perk, and the reason is not because they bought Spider-Man comic books; it's because they went to the movie. They're like, "What? Hold sec, that movie I went to, you had something to do with it," right? Like it's that quick because almost everybody we know consumes TV and movies, right? So again, I don't care what your age is, right? Depending on your age, you might also consume certain video games and whatever else. But the three things that we all consume, pretty much, is TV, movies, and music. Those are the three. Just different levels depending on your age of what those are. So if I can get Spawn a little more global, and to do that you have to go to these other mediums, in this case movies, and then I come in and I go, hey, now I'll have the pick of the litter of, like, which, some of the companies I want to do some kind of apparel for, and it'd be top notch and it'd be cool and whatever else. So maybe I'm just overly patient at times with some of this stuff, but I mean, we've done a few things on our own, but that's sort of the play. Just wait. Do I have people bug me about a Spawn video game? Yes. Do I think if the movie comes out, whatever else, I'll get some of the top tier video game people knocking my door? Yes. So I'll wait a little bit longer and maybe get one of the top dogs. So.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks. Be good.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Captain Smack, for that question. Let's have a Ric Flair go up,
Ric
and then we'll
Flair.
have Gab.
Oh man, I told security not to let him in. Darn it. Here we go. Shoot. Ric Flair, I've talked to Rick. I just kidding. Ric Flair I talked to on the Odd Key, and he's a bit of a character here, so get ready.
You there, Rick?
Oh, Rick's audio's not working. Oh man, I expected better from Mr. Flair. So.
As did I. All
right,
well,
let's go while Rick's figuring it out. Yep.
here, Gab, you can go ahead. I'm just gonna. Oh, Rick's off the stage. I'll let him come back up. Gab, please go ahead.
Hello, Todd.
How are you doing?
Good. You?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming.
My question is, back in the day when you do Spawn ceremony in French.
Yep.
What the process go to let other writer and artists do Spawn?
Okay, so let me just give a little context to the crowd here. So what his question was is that there are different people around the globe that print books, albums. In Europe, they call them albums, and they do a lot of hardcover stuff. So anybody here from North America, think of it as sort of like a hardcover, but bigger sized and whatever else. Anyways, years ago, I did a deal where the French publisher who reprints, again, we reprint Spawn in a lot of languages around the globe. He asked whether he could go find his own local writer and or artist in France to do a French edition of Spawn, which was what he was talking about, called Simone. That was the title of the book. And so I try not to tell people who know their customers better than me how to do stuff. I assumed that the publishers were going to pick somebody that they thought their French audience and the European audience would react to, that might not necessarily be the obvious choice here in North America. And when it was all said and done, I thought it was a brilliant book, and quite proud of it. I think it still holds up, and the artist on the book has gone on to do some amazing artwork, and continues to be an amazing artist. So it worked out for everybody. Everybody was able to gain something out of it. So it was a heck of a run. I do that whenever I try to be as gracious as possible when people sort of borrow the brand from time to time. That I just go, no, you know your audience better than anybody else. I mean, we're working on Spawn appearing in a video game here, and that happened later this year, and in a big video game. And I just did a meeting with the company, and my guess is they probably planned for 45 minutes to an hour, and I think we were done in 15 minutes. because I was like, oh man, cool, oh cool, just hey, make the cape a little longer. Hey, oh man, that's awesome. Make the gun a little bit bigger. Make the cape a little whatever. I was just giving silly comments, but for the most part, they were doing a dazzling job. They were doing a dazzling job. And what I tell them at the beginning, and I know they don't usually believe me at the beginning, because again, they're dealing with corporate companies sometimes, is that I just go, do whatever you need to make whatever you're about to do with my character be the coolest guy on the screen. So don't worry about whether you're keeping Todd happy, and don't worry about whether you're keeping faithful to the comic books. Just make this character called Spawn that the vast majority of your players might not even know who he is. Make him so cool that they can't ignore him. And if you do that, you'll be doing me a favor, and I'll sign off on all of it. Because I've said before, I think at the end of the day, if you do a word cloud, I don't know if you guys know what that is, when they take a subject and then they get people to input words, and then the biggest one, the most common word is the biggest word, and then it goes smaller depending on how many people use that word. I think if you did a word cloud for Spawn, it's going to be, the biggest words are going to be badass and dark, maybe moody, but dark, moody, badass. I go, if you can hit those three words, who cares whether it's exactly like a panel in the comic book? Don't worry about it, dude. Just do what you got to do for your customers. Make them the baddest ass in your video game, and that's it. So I gave the same instructions to the people who did Mortal Kombat 11, and I just said, make them your funnest character, coolest character in the game. Thanks. That's it. There's my note to you. So, and they do it, They have fun, because then you got a bunch of fans and a bunch of geeks that are on the developing end, and they do it. So, anyways, so that's it. Like I said, so that was a long-winded way of saying the French album cover was super awesome. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Merci.
Yeah.
Hey, merci, Gab. Bonne soirée. We'll have Rick go up.
Woo! Is it working now?
It is working now. Rick in the house. Here we go.
I'm back, baby. I'm back, man. That's it.
All right.
Well, Todd, look, man, thank you for y'all having me up here. But look, first off, I wanted to thank you for signing all my comics. I know we got to send in all our comics last month, and you finally got them all out. So there's some beautiful signatures. I can't wait for
Well, let's just temper this real quickly, because you just said something really big, and you might have perked up a lot of people in the audience here. I didn't sign everyone's comic books, everybody's comic books. We had some kind of event contesting, whatever. There was a way, and a group of people who qualified were able then to send in whatever they wanted within limitations, and I signed their products and sent it back. So Rick was one of them. I even remember your books. And so my son Jake, who's on the Oddkey side, came over to the house with boxes of stuff, and we signed it for a few hours, and we sent it back out. So yeah, hopefully we'll be doing stuff like that here on the McFarlane Toys digital side too. So.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a great experience, and those books, Todd, I'm telling you, I've been for years been trying to get all your signatures on, and finally to be able to get them all done, dude. It was definitely an awesome experience. So thank you for that. But look, I wanted to ask you. I know now that you have Oddkey, you have the Toys digital side over here. Do you have any plans of, like, I guess, or a time frame of when you think you might bring all the platforms together, or are you going to still keep them separate, or what's your thoughts with all that?
No, we're in the process, and have been for months and months, of trying to knit all of this together. Not so that everybody's in the same space, but to try and create more that everybody feels like they're in the same house, right? And so, and it's not just digital, just so you know, right? It's not just digital. It's trying to create a place, a little more unified place that says, hey, here's this big house. We call it the McFarlane house. And as I'm speaking, just to let you know, when I talk about my companies, I use the word McFarlane, and when I talk about myself, I use Todd. So just for clarity. And so, we've got the McFarlane house. And so, and I always try to put as many doors on the McFarlane houses as I can, because you never want to dissuade anybody from coming to the party. And then you give as many entry points as possible. So maybe they come in because they like something you did in the video game space. Maybe it's because of the digital space. Maybe because of toys and TVs, movies, comic books, whatever we're doing. And so, but they're in the house. But then once they're in the house, they should be able to go to whatever room they want to, right? And so they shouldn't be forced. Nobody should be forced to hang out, just like we do at a normal party. You usually find your people and you go in a corner and then you talk about the things that group of people are interested in. And so it's same thing would happen here, right? So, if welcome to the McFarlane house. Oh, what are you here for? Oh, comic books, click this button. Oh, toys, click that button. Oh, entertainment, click that button. Oh, digital art, click that button. And all of a sudden you'll go to the room where people who click the digital art button, that's where they are. And then once you get to the digital art side, then it's like, why are you here? Do you want to look at our newest announcements? Do you want to just sort of talk a little bit what's already going on Discord? I just want to clean it up and make it a little tighter and a little more concise. And that everybody then is sort of coming in through the same house before they break off into the different rooms of it. But we're constantly working on it, and eventually we'll pull the trigger on it for sure.
Yeah, I definitely love that idea because it's one of those things where, like, okay, I'm over in Oddkey, I'm reading all the stuff over there, and then I got to hurry up and try to jump over to MTD and try to see what's going on over there. So, man, yeah, if you brought it all together, it would definitely be a lot easier than trying to keep up and jump all around. So I like that. But no, Todd, thanks for bringing me up here, man. Awesome for the signatures and stuff. I can't wait for the next round, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, be good.
Thank you, Rick. All right, Amanda B, please go ahead.
Oh man, Amanda might have the audio issue.
There, Amanda B.
Yeah, Amanda, this happens frequently, and like I said, it's happened to me. Somehow, there's a certain setting that needs to happen, and so once you set it, then unfortunately you have to do what Rick did, which is you have to then click out and then come back in, and then it works. So maybe somebody in the chat can help you work your way through it, and then we can get you back on when the audio is working. So we'll be patient there. So.
Yeah, Amanda, I'm just going to step you down, and then that way you can request back up, and I'll put you up in priority. So we'll have the next person, Nos Clint. Go ahead, please. And My Collectibles, I think your mic is on. If you could mute that, that'll be awesome.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having the space, and thanks for coming up and sharing the AMA, Mr. McFarlane.
Sure.
I just had a question, and I'm glad Rick was mentioning the signatures. But before I go into my question, I did want to kind of add on what was said earlier about the McFarlane pre-San Diego Comic-Con party. When they were announcing for you to finish up here, this was the last signature. It was very amazing seeing your face look up and look at the line. I'm still going to take care of everyone on the line. So thank you, and shows a lot about your character, so I appreciate you.
Look, I don't know. I'm going to keep saying the same thing. If we just live life by the golden rule, and the golden rule is the simple one we've all heard before: do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? If I was in line and I'd been standing in line and all of a sudden it got a little bit late, would I want that person I was trying to get a signature to walk away? Of course not. Would I be disappointed if they walked away? Yeah, it would be a bummer. Would I understand it? Yeah, sure, of course I would, because everybody, has things and obligations they have to go to. But it would just be a bummer, and so and so that's it. It's a simple equation. Again, I'm not doing anything that I don't think that you or anybody else wouldn't do in the exact same situation. You just go, I've got people still here. Let's finish this up, and then we'll worry about it. Just go ask the people if we can stay here an extra 20 minutes, so I can get everybody done, right? And so most people, most establishments are pretty good. They got to clean up anyways. We have to break down the space, so it's not like they were turning off the lights. So yeah. Anyways, like I said, I appreciate when people think that we're doing something above and beyond and they want to do it, but I just like, I don't know, maybe it's the Canadian in me. It's just like we're just being neighborly. No big deal. So
Love that. But yeah, so I just wanted to kind of ask this because I've actually had this conversation with quite a few people within the community on Spaces on Twitter
do it.
about artists, and how the journey of an artist. I mean, one of my friends shared a story that they dumped you in one of those tanks where they had you on the podium for the water on the bottom, and then no one could hit the target. They hit the target, they were able to dunk you, and you were dry before that. So it was funny. These stories about the artists isn't coming up, and their signature series when it came down to the Batman Year 2, which was amazing, by the way. It really kind of sparked a conversation about artists and signatures, and you being who you are and where you came from to what you've built to today. You and maybe only a handful of maybe other artists to make that kind of move. Would it be out of the spectrum of seeing other artists or you collaborating with other artists to come in and do a signature series very similar to something like what you did with Todd McFarlane Year 2?
Yeah.
Because that was
Yes,
amazing.
yeah. The simple answer is yes. And so we're talking about it. And so I mean, just so you know, when Todd does it, and when I do it for my companies, I do it for free, right? Like I ask me politely, and I go, yeah, Todd, you're kind of cute. Okay, I'll do it. And then I do it for free. And so the question is, how do you get people to do enough of them that is meaningful, and compensate them in a way that is fair to them, but not have to blow the price tag on the product that you're now giving to the consumer, right? So it can get a little complicated trying to pull it all off, but yes, we're having those conversations right now. Yep.
Awesome. And the only reason why I asked that is because, as you know, as a aspiring artist, to get people to get your signatures and then come to those events physically is difficult. And then the digital realm, in my opinion, is a way to kind of bridge all that together. So I
Right.
appreciate
And the thing is, like, again, I assume most of you now know it, like every one of those signatures is unique, right? I literally record every one of those signatures because I don't believe that because you're doing digital that it should just be one signature and then you rubber stamp it. You might as well just print it at that point, right? If somebody buys more than one of those NFTs and they get two of them and two of them with signatures, they should be able to compare the two of them and notice the differences. At first blush, it might look the same because a lot of times I sign it in the same area on all of them. But if you actually analyze the signature, just like your own signature, it's not exactly the same over and over and over and over. And I want people to know that those are unique signatures, just like if you were in front of me at a show in person. I wouldn't do one signature and then try to rubber stamp it for everybody. I'd give everybody their own unique signature. I don't know why digital art can't be the same. I asked the question, can't we just record it and do whatever? And they're like, yeah, I guess, but you really want to do that? Yes, I do want to do that because I do it when I'm out in person. So why wouldn't I do it again? So it's a little bit more of a burden on me, but I don't care. It's like, it's what I do. It's what I do.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll sit down. You guys all have a wonderful night.
All right. Thanks. Look at Rick. He's just wandering the stage back there. So until the bodyguards come.
And they're coming. Hey, my collectibles, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys. Can you hear me, Todd?
Yeah, we sure we can.
Thanks, man. I'm a West Coast Canadian boy myself,
My
and
collectibles, I
so
muted you earlier. You'll just have to unmute your mic to speak.
oh, you can't
Oh,
hear me?
he is speaking. Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay, good. Good. Well, I just wanted to say, Todd, that like I said, I'm a West Coast Canadian boy myself. So, big respect to you. My dad used to send me your comics, we didn't live together for a time period in the late 80s, and I was born in the 70s, but he used to send me your comics in boxes. And so that was a great connection we had, for me and my family. And I still have a lot of those. So, I've been a big fan for a long time, but
Oh,
I
thanks.
wanted to ask you about
Sure.
digital, like the digital space as an artist, right?
Yep.
And how you see it. I listened to your interview with Paul Barron on the network there, and I really was fascinated by what you were talking about offering these different kind of experiences for your customers and your fans and stuff like that. And so I wanted to ask you about the digital space, how you see it going, and what are you excited most about it, and also maybe what are you kind of like not so excited about, or maybe needs to be hashed out, just from your perspective as an artist. And it's just an honor to talk to you too, dude. I can't help it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming up. So we had a similar question a little bit earlier, so I'll repeat a little bit of what I said and see if I can add anything. The thing that I'm most excited about, in all honesty, about the NFT digital art space is the unknown, right? Where that can be sort of a fearful place. The unknown can scare people, right? My personality is the opposite, that I just like, what? So nobody's going over there? I'll go over there. Oh, nobody's doing this? Why don't we try it? Whatever. Like, and sometimes you hit dead ends and you hit walls and you go, oh, that's why. But if you don't attempt and try stuff, then you never know whether it's going to work. I've always admired other artists, not so much that I admire their art specifically, which I have plenty that I could put on those lists. But any artist that basically went out of their comfort zone and tried something, and even if it failed commercially, I'm a cheerleader, because I go, wow, they could have just taken the easy road. They could have taken the low hanging fruit, and they said, no, I'm going to try something. And I always give, for me, kudos to people, because I know playing it safe is just not in me for the most part. And so when others do it, I just go, yeah, I want to be your biggest cheerleader for it. So what's got me excited is that I don't know what this space is capable. I don't know what the people in the space want out of it. I don't know how it's going to evolve. Even if we all wrote down our answers today, I think that we would all come back in a year, 2 years, 5 years, and be shocked at what we put down. And that's kind of the awesome part, right? You don't get in on the ground floor of a lot of technologies, a lot of businesses that often in your life. And so when you can be a part of it, you just go for it. You see what you can do, good, bad, or indifferent, out of it. And then the downside is not anything different that isn't true in any other industry, that there's going to be good actors and bad actors in every business. And what always sours people is when you get the bad actors and they grab the headlines, because that's all then that your neighbor and your moms and your aunts and uncles and everybody else that's a naysayer about, what the space, they're just going to read the negative stuff. And a couple bad apples can kind of spoil the cart, if you will. So, but you can't prevent it. There's always going to be those people that are looking for a quick buck and are going to try and take advantage of it. And some people are going to try and run scams, but that's kind of true everywhere, in every business, not unique. It's just humanity, right? I don't believe there are 7 deadly sins. I believe there's one. It's called greed. Period. Out. That's it. It's the piece. It's the piece that is at times shameful, that we expose publicly so many times. But that's it. Otherwise, but I don't try to worry about those, because I don't get to control those people. So I can control what we're doing, and I hope that the industry is strong enough, because what we're doing isn't going to matter one way or the other in terms of its survival. So I just got to do the best that I can. So I could say the same in the comic book industry. people like Spawn in my comic books, but if Spawn disappears tomorrow, I disappear tomorrow. Comic book industry doesn't disappear, right? So I'm just playing in a big pool that's going to be there or not. And if the big pool wants to crush itself, because I've been there before, where I think that the corporations make bad decisions and all of a sudden our industry teeters a little bit, I'm caught up in that too. So the tide that goes up and down, my boat gets caught up in it one way or the other. I don't have enough influence to matter. So I just try to be as fair-minded as possible and as creative as possible along the way. So anyways, thanks for your question. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much. And love the platform. And I'm a big physical collector, comic book collector. So going over to digital, having that option is really great. And I appreciate what you're doing. Cheers.
All right. Yeah, be good.
Thanks, my collectibles. Amanda B was here earlier. I believe there was
Amanda,
some technical
Amanda's-
issues. Go ahead. Hi, Amanda.
Can everybody hear? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, Amanda's in the house. Good to have you back, Amanda. We missed you.
So I really like the Grant Gustin Flash figure and Stephen Amell Green Arrow.
Yep.
Is there a chance we could see any more of the other Arrowverse characters, like maybe Daniel Panabaker or Killer Frost?
Yeah, so we have this big master list of all the characters that we want to do, and on that list are either characters that we want to do internally, characters that Warner Brothers Consumer Products, who owns DC Comics, wants to do, and or what you and your fellow people out in fandom and the consumer base are asking for, and we're constantly adding those names. And then a couple of the ones you just mentioned are up on the board. The question is, there's a lot on the board, and so it's like, how do you get them onto the conveyor belt so that they actually are coming? So I'll go take a look. I don't know where they're at accordingly, but yes, we've talked about the sort of the WB shows a lot. So
Thank you.
all right, thanks, Amanda.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Adam, please go ahead.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. It's a good night for most of you, like my time. Thank you for the opportunity, Todd. Nice meeting you.
Yeah,
It's the
sure,
first
thanks.
time I'm in a space with you. Like I just gotta say, I love the attitude. It's the first time I hear you speak here. Love the confidence, love the attitude. Everyone was loving the first few minutes when you were just giving us these, riddles basically or life lessons. I love it. I love it, man. But
Let me just add one more piece to this too, just
sure,
so everybody understands. But because this is it's a weird question, but I think it applies to all of us. Maybe not. Maybe some of us sort of evolve or whatever. But I get people to say, Todd, where'd you get your tenacity? Where'd you get your drive? Where'd you get your stubbornness? Where'd you get whatever words they want to apply, right? And the answer is always the same. When I came out of the fucking womb. When I came out of the womb, we have personalities that are in our DNA, right? And there's just never been a day that I can recall in my entire life where I wasn't like this, right? I wish sometimes I couldn't, because I got this competitive nature in me, and everything's a game, and I always want to win and stuff. But it's like I didn't grow into it. Nobody taught me. I mean, I had two brothers, so it didn't help that I had two brothers I was constantly in a competition with. But it's like, ask my mom. She's not alive anymore, but when she was, if you asked her and said, "Hey, how long has Todd been like this?" She would have literally rolled her eyes and went, "Oh, when wasn't he like this?" That would have been her answer. I can even hear her saying that. Right? I used to get in trouble since I was 5 years old at school, right? I was the guy who put the frog in kids' pants, right? I was just always testing parameters. And so I don't know, right? It's just the one thing that I have accepted as I've gotten older, because people give you credit for doing what is natural, right? It's not an effort for what I do. When people go, man, you fight and you go up against it and you stand your ground and you do all this, it's not an effort. To me, there's no other option. My personality doesn't allow me to have any other option other than to do it that way. And so for people who have a different personality, who don't do it that way, it seems unnatural or different or impressive. But if you had that personality, it wouldn't be impressive because you would just be doing it. So we all are just ourselves. There's no magic to it, right? There's just, and you, I don't really think you can change personalities that much, right? I coach baseball at a very high level, and I coached all the way from 5 all the way up to 17. And I used to say the same thing, especially when the kids got older, to the parents. There's 3 things I cannot teach your kid, just so you parents are ready for this year. 1, I can't teach your kid to run faster, right? Otherwise, everybody be Usain Bolt, right? So I can't do it. If they're average, I can coach them up to be a little bit better than average, but that's it. If they're slow, I can get them a little bit faster than slow. But the talent is there. So I can't get them to run faster. I can't get them to throw harder because I tell everybody to throw like Nolan Ryan. Can't do it. I can coach them up a little bit, but that's it. And then the last one, which is the one that you parents sort of miss out on, especially you moms. I can't put a fire in your kids' belly. They either give a shit or they don't. And you cheering or razzing them or pushing them on the sidelines or me trying to do it, I'm going to encourage them every step of the way. I'm not saying we're not going to do that. We're going to do that. But either you give a shit and you want to be the dirtiest guy on the field because you're going to slide and you're going to chew glass and you're going to go, I don't care. I'm only 4'2". I don't care if I'm going against fucking guys that are 3 years older than me. I'm just going to go. Like, either that's in you or it's not. And people keep saying, well, they're young, they're going to learn, they're young, they're going to learn, they're younger. I don't subscribe to that. I just don't. At some point, especially when you're talking about things like right and wrong, it's like they don't have to be 18 to know what's wrong. They knew fucking what was wrong at 7. Why do we got to wait another 10 years for them to understand what's right and wrong, right? They're just a bully. They're not going to grow out of it, right? You got a bad attitude, and I don't know where the bad attitude came from. But hopefully, if they're going to grow out of it, I don't know. I know a lot of adult bullies too, right? Most of them, unfortunately, are in the business world I run into. So, okay, cool. But I don't know. It's always weird. Whenever you do interviews, people want to I feel like I'm at a psychologist office. Todd, tell us how you became you. Why are you like this? What drives you, right? Like you don't analyze yourself. I'm sure you don't either. You've never stopped and said, why am I like I am? You just get up in the morning and you just are you. And you don't think about it. So I don't know. Other people analyze you. I don't analyze me. I just do my life and I just let the chips fall where they're at. Anyways, I interrupted your question.
No, perfect. Again, bravo. Thank you. Respect. All I got but respect. But going off that note, I think it's perfect. It's just the way I am, and people know me here. People know me across different spaces, other Discord, other projects and stuff. And I'm the guy that asks usually the tough questions that no one wants to ask. So my main question is, unfortunately, you had this plan 2 days ago, long before stuff happened yesterday. Something happened with the team. I'm pretty sure you heard of it. You got the gist of it or something. People are wondering, you got newcomers, you have new investors that are worried. Is this how the team behaves? Like, they just want a word from the president, the big guy himself. Like, you have any opinions? Is it something that'll be covered down the road? Like, what's going to happen with regards to the scandal yesterday?
So I'm new to it, just so you know, right? Again, I'm new to it. I made some phone calls here a few hours before getting on here going, guys, what's the chatter here? So I will do my due diligence on it, and I don't want to speak out of turn until I have all of the facts. Here's the thing that I've learned as an old man now, right? It's way, way, way easy to jump to conclusions. I try not to do that. And it's weird because I'm not a religious person. And at times I actually think I give more grace than a lot of other people that actually say that they are. So I like to sort of just calm things down, go through the facts, and then deal with what we have. Like when you have a fire, and I get plenty of fires in my businesses, I don't like to worry about who started the fire, why is there a fire. I just go, there's a fucking fire, let's put it out. Let's put it out. And after we put the fire out, then we can do an autopsy on why there was a fire. But right now, arguing about who started the fire doesn't put the fire out today. So let's just put out the fire. Let's stop with the emotions. Let's stop with the emotions. Let's just do what we've got to do. We're adults. Let's count to 10. Let's do what we got to do. And let's assume that there is an honest reason for it to happen. And if there isn't, then that will be found out too. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna see. Like I said, I'm new to it. I'm gonna do my investigation. I understand there's some bad optics on it. We'll get back to you. But what I'm not gonna do is do a thorough explanation. I'm gonna say, guys, here's what happened, and I promise you, given the knowledge that I have, it's either never gonna happen again or it's unpreventable. I don't know. I'll be as transparent as I can in general terms, but I'm not going to give a dissertation. I'm not going to give a dissertation about it. And I'm not going to overly engage in the dissertation with anybody, right? I don't have time for it. I do too many things. You just solve problems and you don't repeat them, if at all possible. And then you move on and you hope that you haven't offended enough people along the way. And that's it. That's all I got. Like I said, name's Todd, only rhymes with God. I don't get to control. I can only control what's in my power. So I will start that process. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
sure.
that's perfect. That's what we wanted to hear. Thank you so much. I always said transparency is everything. Thanks.
Yeah, good. And again, I'm not saying that whatever the answers are, you have to even accept. So everybody gets to make their own choices, right? But like I said, we'll do our level best, and then you guys get to decide whether that's good enough. So.
All right. Thanks for coming up, Adam. We have Atomic Z over here. Please go ahead.
Hey, Todd and team. Thanks for taking the time. Todd, you mentioned that there are some unknowns ahead of us in this world of digital, and that's definitely the case.
Yep.
But whenever I see these,
Guys, I'm up next.
Oops, who's that? Not sure. When we see these things emerge, I think back to what happened with PCs, right? You kind of had these two models. You mentioned Steve Jobs earlier too. He believed in, hey, I need to own the whole experience. I'm going to make the hardware, I'm going to make the software, and create a great experience. You also had Bill Gates who said, oh, I'm going to let someone else do the hardware. I'm going to be the software guy. And they each had their ups and downs, but it's hard to argue. They both created very successful companies, right? And the same with cell phones. You got Apple, you got Google, different models. And I'm wondering, is it too early yet? Maybe, but what do you see in this world of digital art? Do you have a view in terms of what wins? Is it someone who can create an entire experience around it? Or do you think you can win by maybe specializing in, say, the art or the metaverse piece? Where do you stand with your vision right now?
Okay, so Adam, I guess here's what I've said to people before. Whenever you get into any conversation with any human being that you're going to get into a deep philosophical question, one of the first things you need to do is define words, right? So, because again, we have a tendency in conversations to use words that we each have our own definition for, and it then riles us up because we're using it differently, right? We're using it differently. So again, you can take two people, say, racism, and ask two different people, and they have a different definition for it, right? One is very slight, and the other one is, I haven't hung anybody off my tree in my front yard. So, but that they apply that word to whatever their own personal definition is. So let's talk about what's winning, right? So I'm going to tell you what is winning for me. And so others, in business have a different definition of what winning is. So I'll tell you what's winning for me, and it doesn't have to, that definition doesn't have to apply to any other person or any other company. The winning to me is, can you find outlets that will allow you to show off your artwork that otherwise would have been limited or locked out of for a segment of society somewhere on the globe. That's it. Other companies winning is, did we make $1 million? Theirs is way different than my definition. That's my win. And so what do I mean by that? It means that, and here's the part that, again, when I'm talking to people a little bit older, I have to sort of remind them, and I hate to do it, that there's a world. And the world is further than just their circle that they have right now. And the world's complicated, and it has hundreds of countries, and it has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of traditions and the way that people sort of live their lives. So even if somebody wanted to buy one of my comics or one of my toys or whatever I'm making that given day, but they live in a country, a small island someplace, you can't even see it on a world map, and they want the product, the shipping cost to get it, I don't know if you've ever looked into it, the shipping cost to ship something physical from one part of the world to another can be literally prohibitive for a lot of people. Number one, you can buy a $20 action figure and it costs you $89 in shipping. That's almost 4.5 times the cost just for shipping. You're at $100 for this one figure to get it to your house. Oh, by the way, you may live in a country in which $100 is the equivalent of $1,000 here in North America. So you got to pay $1,000 for one figure. It doesn't make any sense. Let's take another example, a completely other example. You do live in a country that is developed and makes a lot of money and has all the modern conveniences. We'll call it Tokyo. But your apartment, because there's crowding, is only 400 square feet, which is a true thing for a lot of people. 2 boxes of action figures takes up a percentage of that 400 feet all of a sudden. So you can't even have a big collection. And you better not collect statues because shit, that's going to take up a percentage really fast. And so you have 2 choices with these people, and I'm only giving you 2 examples. They either have to say, I can't afford, or I live in a place where I don't have the room to consume and to enjoy what you do with your art, Todd, or a million other people that do art. But I do have electricity, and I do have a cell phone. And if I can get it in digital form, then I can join the party a little bit, and I can enjoy the art. The option for some of those people is either you do it digitally or you do it nothing at all. It's either you're in or you're completely out. And that's the piece that people don't want, especially older people, they don't want to pay attention to that. They just go, I get it, Uncle Fred. That's not how you did it. You do not live on that fucking island. You may have a different mindset if you were on that island. And you sure as hell would be making a lot less money, and you'd have a different sort of value quantitative in your head. So what do? We can either stick to our way of the way we do it and ignore the rest of the world, or we try to accommodate a little bit. And if going digital allows me to get some of my art to people that otherwise wouldn't get my art, that, Adam, is my win. That's my win. So
Hey, thank you for that. I really appreciate. Yeah, I love the way you're defining that, and as an artist, I can understand why that's winning to you, and makes a ton of sense. Yeah, thanks for the perspective.
all right, appreciate your time. Green Talk, can I ask you a question? Oh, he's on mute.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Todd.
How many people we got with their hands raised that still want to ask questions?
All right, we got she was just there and then disappeared. We got the comic guy, and that's it.
Okay, so why don't we say 3 more here, because it's been a couple hours. People have been giving me way more time than they should have. So why don't we do 3 more questions, and then we'll call it a day and let everybody get back to their life.
Absolutely, Todd. All right, so comic guy. I see Derby down in the audience looking to come up as well, and She Spawn's not there for now, so we'll leave it at that. Go ahead, comic guy.
Yeah, Todd, thank you for doing this tonight. As a
Yeah, sure,
comic
my
shop
pleasure.
myself and a guy that's gotten into the NFT space, I often try bringing my customers in my shop into the NFT space.
Mhm.
Do you plan on doing any marketing with comic shops for your new NFT space? Do you plan on bringing your comics into the NFT space? And my son wants to know if you plan on bringing Spawn into Fortnite.
Yeah, it would be cool. No, he's gonna come in another big video game though soon. So, and we'll make that announcement closer to New York Comic Con. Yeah, it's interesting. The way that I look at it is, I don't. My job isn't necessarily to say, hey, I do comic books, now I'm doing toys. Let me see if I can get all the comic book people to buy toys, any more than all the toy people to buy comic books, right? That's really not my. I mean, are there people that cross over? Of course. That's not my goal. My goal is to just let people know that it exists, right? And so that's the marketing part that you're asking. Is that all you can do is just let people know you've got these brands and you're doing these different mediums, and here's sort of the information, and you hope that some people will be curious enough to go and look to see if it's something that is of interest to them. And if it is, then a portion of those people will then engage with it. So I'm not here to say, hey, everybody, you need to go and get into this space any more than everybody needs to be in the comic book space or the toy space or the entertainment space, right? You just let people do it. What you do is say, hey, I've got this coming down the pipeline, and here's what it is. Here's the information. Click here if you want to get more information. And then you let the consumer decide whether any of that is of interest to them. And so it's sort of, I guess, a little bit more broader marketing instead of being specific per se. I mean, I have different people in each one of those divisions whose job is to market that stuff, but I also don't want to, on my social channels and stuff, or even here in these panels, just be a guy who's basically just huckstering stuff all the time, right? I don't want to be a salesman. I just want to, from time to time, say, hey, oh, by the way, we're also doing this. Cool, take a look at it. You can go to that website, hit that link. In the meantime, let's just talk about regular stuff and have a good time and enjoy each other's company.
That answered all my questions. Thank you very much. And know that Lake Havasu always welcomes you.
That's it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming up, comic guy. Let's see. Derby draws.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
We can.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. Todd, as a child of the 80s and a DC collector since I can remember, the Superpowers toy line has got a really big spot in my heart. Now, in my 50s as a toy collector, the fact that you brought it back is I haven't been this excited since my child was born. Can you tell us a little bit of the story of just what inspired you to bring that toy line back? And I know you can't tell us much, but do we have any surprises coming for us with Toy Fair and New York Comic Con coming up?
Well, on the Toy Fair front, that comes around the end of September, beginning of October. You know, we show off our stuff, so hopefully there'll be a couple of surprises there for people. If not, it'll just be, you know, an educational of like, here's sort of all the big lineups and maybe some of the visuals of some of it that we've talked about, but we haven't shown yet. The on the superpowers front, that was again just looking at the same things that matter to me, right? Whenever I see something from my childhood, it always sort of brings me back to that sort of innocent time before we all knew death and taxes. and so you can always here's what's interesting. You can always tell, Derby, like how old somebody is by what their nostalgia is, right? And sort of the simple version of that is if you go to somebody in Star Trek and you go, "Who's your captain?" You can pretty much tell how old somebody is, right? Because depending on their answer, is you can then start guessing, "Oh, you must have been born then," right? And animation and toys, video games, all of that is actually true. When people start saying, "Oh, my favorite was," you just go, "Oh, you're a kid from the '80s. Oh, you're a kid from the '90s. Oh, you're a kid from the '70s." I mean, you can tell who they are, which is always fun. So we all have this in us. The question is, what eras and what kids who are now adults do we go and tickle their childhood sort of funny bone a little bit? So lots and lots and lots and lots of people, you know, had a fondness for the superpowers. I was getting a little bit older, but even I knew that it existed, and I wasn't even a toy collector. I had no idea I was going to have a toy company someday, and even I knew that they were out there. So when we were able to take a whack at it, it just seemed like such a goofy, sort of fun thing to do. It was either going to be a dismal failure, it was going to work. And so luckily it was going to work because there's a lot of nostalgia and retro feeding the collector market these days. So and we're trying to put some surprises in those lines and some of the animation lines that we're doing with Warner Brothers.
Excellent. I just love what you're doing so far. The vehicles are amazing, and not only being a nostalgic tickle, but such a great economic line as well. The prices are great. The ability to get them is good. And I'm
I know there's a lot
thankful
of
for it.
there's a lot of retro stuff out there that I think is way too expensive, right? And
Oh yeah, yeah,
so
absolutely.
again,
And I think this fits a lot of those boxes. As a 50-something-year-old guy, I'm like, all right, I'm out of space for things. I got to stop buying stuff. And then you turn around and bring superpowers back, and I'm like, crap. Got to
Right, but
start selling stuff and making room on my shelves.
Yeah, sorry, but I mean, again, we wanted to make sure that they were small and affordable, right? Because again, if nothing else, even for a mom saying, "Okay, you can buy a toy, but you don't get more than $10." You need to have a wide variety of price points that will appeal to different consumers, right? I mean, it's a little bit like Hershey chocolate, right? You can get little tiny Hershey Kisses, and then you can get a little bit bigger ones, and then you can get the regular bars, and then they get big at Valentine's Day and whatever. I mean, they all come in all sizes and shapes and price points. So you just let the consumer decide which one of those makes the most sense for their sort of life and enjoyment and of whatever. So toys and comic books and everything is sort of the same thing. I think we do compendiums and comic books that are $69, and then I do my $2.99. Right? We got a big wide range of products that we do at different prices.
Well, whether it's a kid trying to spend $10 and his mom not letting him, or a middle-aged guy wanting to spend $10 and his wife not letting him, thank you either way.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Derby. Have a good night. Let's see here. We have our last person with a question of the night, a Chrome AAA. Please go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks for coming.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. I've been driving home for a party with friends in Sweden for 5 hours listening to.
Wow.
Yeah, this is awesome. Uh, I, I'm also like everyone else. I've been really. It's really nice hearing you deal with the problems and kind of saying there's a fire when you kind of used to big companies and other companies saying there's no fire, there's no fire, and just accepting there's a fire. We will solve it. We will tell you. I love it. So I will not talk about that. Um, I, something else. Yeah. Spawn really scared me when I was a kid. So coming back to the collectibles, I really love this space and I really love the collectibles. And I had a question about will there be some time in the future that kind of the digital collectibles kind of I'm kind of doing some social media stuff and stuff that you can use filters and you can do that. It would be so cool and so awesome to have like the toys or having a digital collectible that could kind of do something in the space of your cameras, kind of swoosh by, kill someone in a poof, and then that's the collectible with like a transparent background, and you kind of owning that as a NFT. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, is there something? Are you moving in that direction?
Well, AAA. I'm gonna go back to what I answered before. A couple of people asked me about what we're doing in the space, and the most honest answer is I don't know, and it's not that I don't know because I don't have ideas. We don't have goals and plans. It's I don't know what the future holds in this space. And so that suggestion you gave, is it doable? Sure it is. Is it an idea that's worth thinking about? Sure it is. But there are hundreds of ideas that are doable. What I need to try and figure out is which of them are also interesting, which ideas are also interesting to the fan base, and of the ones that are interesting to the fan base, which of them are worth them spending their hard-earned money and or crypto, right? So that's it. You've got to give something that you know there's going to be a decent crowd supporting. Otherwise, you got to come up with another idea that will answer that question, because you want to be able to have enough success, which is the goal of everything I do, enough success so that you can continue to do it. That's it. And again, here's another piece too, and I know that lots of people have dropped off, but part of the sort of whole definition is success. Because it's easy when you have success for people to sort of say things like, "Oh my God, you're just a sellout and you're just money grubbing or whatever else." So, and it's always interesting, especially when I look at it from a music point of view. You've got this small band, and the small band had really, especially like punk music or something, they had a really hardcore following, and everybody was super loyal, and they did the best they could. And then all of a sudden, they put out an album, and for whatever reason, 3 million people want to buy it now instead of 30,000. And all of a sudden, they're sellouts, and it's like, what? They just made music, and instead of 30,000 buying it, 3 million bought it, right? Like here's the thing about success and failure for the most part. The people doing it don't have any control. This is the thing. All anybody that can do that does any art is do their best, their most creative, and then we don't get to force a single human being on the planet to like it and buy it and give us money. We don't have that power. This is the piece. You're a sellout. Like sellout. Like that rock band, that punk band didn't have the power to get 3 million people. Because if they did, they would have fucking done it years ago. Like, what are you talking about? They like money too, right? So this is this weird thing that somehow when you have success, they think you're a huckster, and that somehow it's more honest and it's more genuine to sell a fraction? And the answer may simply be that the reason you're selling a fraction is because you didn't have the right opportunity, you didn't have the right break, or ... your product isn't fucking very good. That's why you're not selling a lot. At what point is that the answer, right? So people think that selling less is somehow more genuine. No. Why can't it just be that people just don't want it at some point, right? Like I had this conversation, and then we'll end the day. I would have this conversation at Marvel Comic Books when I was there. I was doing Spider-Man. It was the #1 selling book at that point. The X-Men were going to come along and crush it with Jim Lee. But at the point, it was the #1 selling book. And they were bringing me in, and we were having these odd conversations, and I was going, there was 4 Spider-Man books at that point. Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, The Web of Spider-Man, and then my book, Spider-Man. And I asked a simple question. How come you guys never advertise my book? And then they're like, well, you know, Todd, your book is doing really good. It's #1. It doesn't really need advertising, which is complete anti-marketing, anti-business, right? Like that'd be like a bookstore going, we don't have to put the Harry Potter new Harry Potter book in the front window. We just put it at the back. It's already doing fine. Don't worry about it. Are you out of your fucking mind? Of course you put the product that sells the most in the front, right? And you boast about the one that sells the most in the front. Right? Every walk of life does it, whether it's in the music industry or in the movie industry or TV, whatever gets the highest ratings, they talk about it the most, and the companies try to promote it. Of course you do. I guess comic books didn't at that point. But they were advertising one of the other Spider-Man books, and my book was selling about 1 million copies, and the Spider-Man book they were promoting was selling about 200,000 copies. And I remember having this odd conversation of saying, so I just want to be clear. Just because I'm just a simple little Canadian kid. I don't understand the ways of you big corporate dudes. So you're saying that if I sell 1 million, you won't advertise my book. But if I can figure out a way to lose 80% of my sales, and I can get it back down to 200,000, then you'll advertise that book. Do I understand it? Do I understand what the conversation I'm having right now? And they're like, well, Todd, they need it more than you. And it's like they need the exposure. And I go, no, I understand. And maybe it's a lack of exposure. But at what point in your equation is it the reason that book is selling 200,000, not 1 million? Because people don't fucking like it. They see the book. They know it's out. You've advertised it. And they're buying it at that level. What point is it that they just don't think it's as good as a bunch of your other comic books, mine included? Like, wow, we're going to endorse mediocrity now. That's it? This is why I start my own companies, because at some point I just get crazy. I just go, am I the only one in this room full of smart, educated, 3-piece suit people, executives that's missing this? I lose 80% of my sales, you will promote me? But if I don't, you won't? Like, wow, guys, at some point, I've just got to get out of here, which I did. And we started Image Comic Books. And it was for these odd conversations and situations I was in. I have been in many, I don't have time, it's getting late, to elaborate. Someday I'll write my book on the crazy conversations I've had with corporations in my 30, 40 years of being an adult, right? It will blow your mind. It will blow your mind. So anyways, I just go, well, good luck to you guys. You guys do your own thing. I'm going to go see if there's another alternative to that process. And I've been fortunate enough that some of those alternatives have afforded me a good life. So thanks to all of you that have supported any of that anywhere along those 40 years. I'm eternally grateful, so I don't have to put up with those conversations on a regular basis. When people ask me why I have 345 issues of Spawn, and they go, Todd, come on, you're crazy, man. Why would anybody do that? You've been at it for 30 years. Like, I need that book in my life. I've said it before. I need it for my own personal sanity, because I deal with what I think is corporate insanity almost every day of my life. And at the end of the day, I just need my little piece of comfort, my slippers, my creative slippers, which is my little Spawn comic books or some of my toys that I do, my Spawn toys. And I don't need to get anybody's approval. I don't need to get anybody's endorsement. I can just come up with an idea. I can just do it, and then I can just put it into action. It's good for my soul to have that independence off in a corner mixed in with some of the corporate stuff, because it just it warms my heart on an otherwise frustrating day that happened from time to time. So, but anyways, that's it. And oh, by the way, I'm never going to complain about any of it, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that basically started all the companies and put myself in all these positions. So I there's no passing the buck. I don't have the privilege to get angry at anything, because at the end of the day, there's an easy answer. Then stop it, Todd. Stop it. You're in control of your life. Then don't do it. If it aggravates you, don't do it. So I don't get aggravated. I just try to problem solve. So, okay, what's the issue today? Let's solve the problem. Let's move on tomorrow. And if it becomes too aggravating, you just stop doing it and you go find something that's not. You find something that's enjoyable. Cool. Done. So, anyways, all right. I appreciate your question, AAA. I appreciate the moderators there. Everybody, it looks like there's 111 of you hardcores that were sat through all of it. So you guys are the elite group, because we had about double that at some point, and some of the people got soft and left earlier. Or actually, I'm being silly. I think there are people from around the globe, and it's just 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. So, anyways, they probably stayed up way later than they should have. So, thanks for everybody. We'll do it again, and I appreciate your candor and your questions that got peppered at me. We'll run into each other again in the future.
Hey, Todd, thank you so much for tonight. If I may, just take 30 seconds and say, on behalf of the community, I know there's a lot of people that find it a privilege and also, a great utility to be able to kind of speak to you, get to know what's behind your mind from somebody whose art inspired childhoods, teenagehoods, and adulthoods for a lot of people. So on behalf of everybody, and I've had a few people DM me to ask me to say this, thank you. And for everybody else listening in, thank you for listening in. And there will be more of these. So, this is an opportunity for anybody to kind of just raise your hand, come up, have a question ready, and therefore you can talk to Todd. So, Todd, have a great night. And Calgary, right? How about the Oilers, eh?
That's Edmonton. If you're in Calgary and you like the Oilers, then you're sort of a traitor. It's like being in New York and liking the Red Sox. So, but I was an Oiler fan, and I was actually even involved in the ownership for a while. So, I was an Oiler fan and a Gretzky fan. So, all right, everybody, you could be good. Go get some sleep. I gotta finish my last few pages here of Gunslinger number 24. So,
good night, Todd.
All right, bye.